everybody, it's Keren here from tuppence.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is the card that I've been making today. I've made it with stamps from the Home to Roost set, which is one of the ones from the Celebration brochure. Now, we haven't got long left in Celebration 2019, and I really wanted to play with this one before we got to the end of March and it was all over for another year. So this is what I've been making. Stay with me, I'll show you what I did. This is a piece of crumb cake, and I've just taken some white acrylic paint, put it on my finger and just rubbed it into the centre of the card and left it to dry. And now I've got my rooster stamp set up on my Stamparatus. Doesn't have to be the Stamparatus, I could just put it onto an acrylic block and we would be good to go, but got the Stamparatus, so I'm going to use it. And I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, pressing that down to give myself a nice clear impression of the cockerel. So next thing I want to do is I want to colour the cockerel in, and I've got a reference picture up on my screen here so I can get an idea of what sort of colour he's supposed to be. I've got my stamping blends and I'm just going to get to work colouring him in my stamp image. This is Light Mango Melody, and yeah, I'm going to speed this up and give you some music to listen to while I get on with it. I just did a bit of work on this and forgot to turn the camera on, so I need to tell you what I just did. I've got a balmy blue ink spot here, Stampin' Spot. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I just spent a few minutes working on this panel without turning the camera on, so I'm going to talk you through what I just did. So first of all, I took my sand eraser and I kind of rubbed away around the edges of where the white paint was. And then next I took some balmy blue. This is one of our Stampin' Spots, which I just inked up with a re-inker. You get 5 uninked Stampin' Spots in a packet, and they're very handy for when you're out and about. You know, maybe you're going to a class or a crop and you want to take a few different coloured inks with you, or you're going away on holiday but you want to make sure that you've got something with you. And this is basically what I did. Now, I did discover that because of the paint I used, the alcohol ink is a little bit more mobile than it usually is, so I'm being a little bit careful with it. And then when I'd done all of that, I took an ink blending tool and I just blended away. I've cut that out with the largest of my layering oval dies. I was thinking of leaving it as a rectangle, but I accidentally dropped an ink pad onto the corner of the card, so I decided to have a change of design direction and to kind of go with it. So now I want to make this look as though it's been painted onto planks of wood. So I've got my I was going to say die, it's not a die, it's an embossing folder. Got my embossing folder and I'm trying to decide where roughly I want the image to be on these planks. Okay, so I'm going to put this through my Big Shot, and the sandwich that I'm going to be using is the base plate, my embossing folder with the hinge side going into the machine, and one cutting plate. And that is all I need. I don't need any other shims or platforms or anything like that. That's all I need. If you've got the old kind of Sizzix platform, then you need to make sure that all the tabs are open, because this is a very thick embossing folder, and if you put it through with too many layers, you will break your machine and then you won't be happy. So I'm going to go away and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. This is the crackle paint. This is the crackle paint stamp, which is in the Spring Summer catalogue. I absolutely love it. I absolutely adore it. Here's the crackle paint. This is the crackle paint stamp. It's in the Spring Summer catalogue, and I was so happy when I saw it there. I've just got it flat on the table. I haven't put any kind of backing on this one at all, because I find it easier to bring the paper to the stamp when the stamp's this size. And I'm just giving it a nice coating of crumb cake. This is a piece of pool party card, which is 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just pushing it down onto my stamp. Right, and that is the effect that I've got. I'm just going to take the stamp away, put it back in its case in a moment. Alright, now I want this to look even more weathered, if that's possible. So I'm going to put a little bit of crumb cake ink onto my blending mat. And I'm just picking it up on one of my cheapo makeup brushes. I could use a sponge, but the makeup brushes were handier. And I'm just kind of lightly just bringing the colour so that my background really starts to look like very old and weathered paint. Not worrying too much about the middle, because I'm going to cover that up. And if anyone is wanting to ask where I get these brushes, I buy them from Amazon. They're sold as oval makeup brushes, and there are lots of price points. As I'm using them for craft and not for putting makeup on my face, I buy the cheap ones, and they're lasting me pretty well so far. And to clean it off between sessions, this is my Simply Chamois, and I'm just giving it a wipe across the damp chamois surface. And actually I've been a bit premature doing that, because I want to bring this back. This is the cockerel stamp, which has been through the Big Shot in the embossing folder and has come back like this. And when I first did it, I didn't like it. I thought, oh no, it's gone wrong. I don't know. I'm going to have to throw this one away or put it into my UFOs. That's unfinished objects. But actually, when I took one of this, which is a sanding block, I'm trying to keep it off the blending mat, because it wouldn't do it any good at all. Let's move blending mat out of the way just for a moment, and then I can really get at this. So what I'm doing is, where the pattern is raised, I'm just taking away some of the colour, taking it back a bit and making it look weathered and antique. I'm going to bring back the mat. still got some ink left on the mat here, so I'm just going to go over this as well. Alright, so let's start bringing things together now. So, a little bit of liquid adhesive. And I'm going to put this onto my card base, which is crumb cake, and it is cut it down to 11.5 by 4 inches, scored and folded at 5 3/4. Right, and that means my panel fits exactly. If you were working in US measurements, then you cut it to probably 11 by 4 1/4, and you would adjust this mat accordingly. Okay, so let's have a... Okay, so some dimensionals, I think, on the back of the cockerel, and you can see where I had my first go at putting my white acrylic paint onto the background. And I'm being quite generous with the dimensionals because, you know what, they don't cost a lot. They're fairly easy to come by. Do love my dimensionals. I don't know what I'd do if Stampin' Up discontinued. So yeah, I hope they never retire, or if they do retire, they get replaced with something better, because, you know, we're open to progress. Okay. So that's coming along rather nicely. Now I do want a sentiment on here, which again is from this same stamp set, the Home to Roost. It's Enjoy the Simple Moments, stamped it on black, onto crumb cake with a black, tuxedo black memento. That's what I meant to say. Okay, and I'm just going to trim it down, just doing this entirely by eye. And probably going to, yes, why not? I'm going to kind of what I call flag the ends. There's probably a proper name for it, but that's what I think I'm doing. So all I'm doing is snipping up the centre of a bit of card, and then just cutting from corner to corner to where I've stamped, and that is going to need it's going to need a bit of distressing, I think. So after I've cleaned my brush and put everything away, so yeah, so this time I'm just picking up the ink directly from the ink pad. See, I've done this to show you all the different ways that you can get colour onto card. Okay. And that looks a bit more like it belongs. Dimensionals again, one at either end of the banner. And where should we put that? Round about there, I think. And I think it's time to step away from the card. And there it is. There is my finished card, and I think that would be a very good card for a gentleman in your life. And I really do like the way that it looks old and weathered and really quite beaten up. It's the effect that I was going for. honestly. But that is it for today. Thank you very, very much for joining me and for staying with me to the end of this video. I will be posting more soon now that I'm over my flu, and I'd love it if you came back and saw me again sometime. But for now, bye bye.